All rise. Judge Vanderbeek Court is now in session. Judge, this is case number JVB 1039, White case.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You all may be seated. Mrs. White, what brings you here today?
Well, Judge Bonda, nice to see you again. You look beautiful.
Thank you. Nice to see you too. And it's interesting to see you sitting on this side.
Yes, well.
With Mr. White?
Yes, Damien is here today. He's finally back from building that bridge.
Right, but it's interesting that you're here making a request because the last time you were here, his ex-wife was making a request for child support and you gave her such a hard time.
Well, you know, back then I was so blinded by love and a bunch of other things, and now
Isn't that ironic?
All right, everyone, let's get into another compelling child support case. This time, Mrs. White is requesting financial support for her 2 children as she and Mr. White go through their divorce. But here's where things take an ironic twist. The judge quickly points out that Mrs. White once criticized Mr. White's ex-wife for seeking support. Now the tables have turned. Even Mrs. White acknowledges that karma has come full circle. With emotions running high, this case is shaping up to be both fair and intense. Let's see how it all plays out.
They come around.
Okay, well, you said it, but continue. What brings you here?
So I would like to request child support for our 2 beautiful children.
Okay.
I cannot send them to school on my own. I don't want to pull them out. You know, they have their friends and they're doing so well, and I would hate to make them change schools.
Okay, and you said that you're paying tuition?
Yes.
Are you paying it or is Mr. White paying it?
Well, when we were together, we were paying it. But, you know, now that I have to find a new job and to subsequent the money that I no longer have coming in, I need his help.
Okay. All right. And how much is tuition?
Tuition is about $5,000 a year per child.
Okay. Per year?
Yes.
Okay. This better be a pretty great school.
Yeah. It's connected to Yale and Harvard.
Oh, okay. Interesting. So, how was the bridge? Because you definitely didn't show up for court the last time.
No, I did not, Your Honor.
Okay. So I'm guessing everything went well.
I'm a civil engineer, Your Honor, and I was in Italy for a conference, not the building of the Bridge of Gibraltar.
Oh, okay.
You must have lied to me.
Well, she must didn't know.
Apparently didn't know that there's a large step up from being housewife to employed.
Oh. I caught that. Continue.
So I'm currently paying the insurance for our children.
Okay. And how much is that?
$500?
$500. Okay. And that's for both children?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Continue.
Now,
Mrs. White presents her case, explaining why she's requesting child support. She needs help covering the hefty $55,000 annual tuition for each of their 2 children, who attend an elite school with ties to Yale and Harvard. As she shifts from being a stay-at-home mom to re-entering the workforce, she admits that managing these expenses alone has been overwhelming. The judge listens intently, acknowledging the steep cost of private education. On top of that, Mrs. White points out that she's also paying $500 a month for the children's health insurance. With financial stakes high and emotions running even higher, all eyes now turn to Mr. White as he prepares to respond.
why my loving wife would think that in combination that we are paying for our children, considering I'm the only one that works. And quite frankly, she does not
Okay.
and only spends.
That's not
Okay.
true. That's not true.
Ma'am, he's speaking. Okay. So, you guys are going through a divorce. She now is getting ready to work because she's not working yet, right?
From what I'm told, Your Honor, yes.
Okay. And this tuition, is it accurate what she said?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. That's a pretty expensive school, but I mean, if, you know, it has its affiliations, I definitely understand. $500 for health insurance, and how many other children do you have?
Just the one other with my ex-wife.
Okay. And then you all have 2 together. All right. And I do have your child support amount. Giving you credit for the health insurance as well as credit for your other children. Your child support amount comes out to $1,391. Okay. Now let me explain to you how that affects you. You're definitely going to have to get a job.
Oh, I do have a job.
Well, you're definitely going to have to continue working that job, because if you notice, his child support is only about close to $1,400. You said tuition is about $5,000 a year per child.
Right.
So after he pays child support, he does not have to give you anything extra. You understand that?
Oh, I completely understand.
And you understand that you will be covering the difference.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you're okay.
Mr. White takes the floor, challenging Mrs. White's expectation that he should carry the financial burden alone. He argues that, as the sole breadwinner, he has already been handling the children's expenses, including health insurance. The judge digs deeper, asking about his income and other financial responsibilities, including support for a child from a previous marriage. While Mrs. White's plea is filled with emotion, Mr. White remains composed, creating a sharp contrast in the courtroom. With tensions at a breaking point, all eyes are on the judge as they prepare to make a final decision.
Forward to me.
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Anything further?
Can I just let you know that I do have a legitimate job, okay? Like, I have my own hair care business. It's starting
I thought that was a question for me. Are you talking to him?
Well, I'm just letting both of you know that I do have a legitimate job.
Okay,
you
great.
know, and it's doing pretty
Congratulations.
well.
That is wonderful. Anything further?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. If there's nothing further, you
The judge doesn't mince words. After running the numbers, she sets Mr. White's child support obligation at $1,391 per month, factoring in his payments for health insurance and support for his other child. She makes it clear. This covers his basic responsibility, but it won't fully offset the hefty $110,000 combined tuition for their 2 children. That means Mrs. White will need to cover the difference. The judge firmly reminds her that maintaining a job is essential to making ends meet. The ruling is fair, but there's no room for excuses. Both parents are responsible for their children's well-being, and that includes education and healthcare. As the case wraps up, the judge reflects on the key legal principles at play. Child support in Texas is calculated based on income, financial obligations, and dependence. Before the gavel drops, the episode closes with a powerful reminder: parenting is a shared duty. If you know someone facing a similar situation, encourage them to share their story. After all, every decision made in child support court shapes a child's future.